of delegates, observers, and guests. Yesterday, the President of the African National Congress, President Cyril Ramaphosa, delivered the political report. We've worked with our content and messaging team to package that, and we'll be sending to yourselves the short messages coming out of the speech, just for your own, coming out of the political report, for your own reference and reading whenever you may want to. We did it in this way so that it's easy to pick up the issues for your own articles, features, opinion pieces. So this is the work that is being done by the content and messaging team. So we'll share that across our digital platforms. We'll also share that even on our own web pages. I know that the digital media team is also working on developing small TikTok videos of the speech that those of you that are in the podcast space can also disseminate and use that. So this is part of the support we spoke about that we are going to be giving to the media, but also allow everyone else, young and old, to be able to interact with our conference, regardless of where they could be. So that's what we are going to be doing. So when we concluded the session 2 of the conference, we had said that when we start today with session 3, it will be a closed session. Now we are now in the closed session of conference. I saw some of the media reports suggesting that conference has not yet started. I'm going to appeal that we correct that line, because conference has started, conference is in session. The Deputy President is on the podium, he is delivering the organizational report. After the organizational report, they will deal and attend to clarifications and adoption of that report. Of course, I will come back to the adoption of the organizational report, and afterwards, we'll go to the financial report. All reports that have to be presented under session 3, which is a closed session, and under session 4, which is a closed session, will be presented. The only aspect really that we are making finality on, with all the good progress that we've made, is credentials. Why are credentials critical? Credentials are meant to assist the organization qualify those who must participate in the deliberations necessary to facilitate resolutions, consensus, and decisions. So we have to qualify those who are part of those sessions. There must be members from branches, there must be accredited guests who bring skill sets that might assist the organization. In most instances, those that are accredited as guests allowed to come into closed sessions of conference do not have speaking rights in those. Because while we don't do it through a ballot, we vote through consensus. So it means that it is only voting delegates that participate on deliberations around the organizational report. A part of that requires that they are duly qualified. Qualified means duly accredited, is the adoption of such reports. Because resolutions of the ANC, reports of the African National Congress, become legal documents. We have seen political parties, we have seen commissions, I mean even the Commission on State Capture, relied on some of the reports that came out of our own meetings. So we can no longer take our reports lightly, not that we did previously. But we've got to now know, pay special attention, understand that these reports take a legal standing as well. I have seen media statements that we have circulated being attached as addendums to legal challenges, either to conferences or any other. Every time when comrades go to a court applying for agency, part of the things that they use as the merits to argue their case would be even statements that we made. I'm sure if you go to court documents, you will find my name in there, buried in some statements that they were using to motivate them. So that's why credentials are that critical. Now, we have introduced a new membership system. It is for the first time at this 55th National Conference that we are convening a national elective conference using this new agile membership system. It has got a number of security features necessary to avoid, identify, and isolate any form of infiltration. The new membership system allows us to ensure that the rightful members are the ones that are accredited to participate in conference. For you to participate and vote for leaders in a conference of the ANC, you must be a member of that organization. Not just a member, you must be a member in good standing. The membership of the ANC has got categories. If you are a new member, you have got what is called window period. To manage possibilities or instances of rush ambitions, we place you on window period. So you don't just arrive today and then tomorrow you're already leading your branch. You have to arrive, show that you have been recruited by someone in the branch, have signed all of those, be placed on a window period, then qualify. Then you are now a member in good standing. You enjoy the full rights of the members as outlined in Rule 2 of the ANC Constitution. But because the membership of the ANC is annualized, if you have only paid 20 rand of the membership fee, it then means that at the next anniversary, you will be given 3 months probation at which you must renew your membership. Again, it's another window period, that's 3. So actually the first one is probation period. Like at work, man. You in a media house just begun, you are subjected to probation for 3 months. Even here in the ANC, because we are such a self-respecting organization, we have got probations as well. Members subject themselves to probation. The Constitution imposes probation on them for a period not exceeding 3 months. Then when your membership lapses, you then go on a window period, again of a defined period. If within that window period you have not renewed your membership, you cease to be a member. So it is some of those conditions that when you conclude on who is the rightful delegate here in the conference, you have to look at. So the system has got a number of features that can do early detections on such. So it's good for us because it says, by the time you sit conference, every one of the near 4,500 delegates who shall have participated in the election of the leadership of the African National Congress, the adoption of the organizational report, the financial report, and the adoption of the resolutions, the constitutional amendments that must guide the organization at least for the next 5 years, was duly accredited, qualified to be in that meeting, met all the criterion set out by the African National Congress. So it is that which we have to, unfortunately, be thorough on. Time-wise, will we be able to conclude the business of conference? Yes, indeed we will. We will. The good thing about the work we are doing now in this national conference is that unlike provincial conferences, the national conference, before it sits, convenes 2 critical gatherings. So the ANC has got a number of structures. What are these structures of the ANC? The apex structure of the ANC is the national conference. So the next structure that just comes after the national conference is the National Executive Committee. The National Executive Committee of the ANC is empowered by the Constitution of the African National Congress to take decisions in between conferences. The other critical structure is the National Working Committee. It processes the day-to-day running of organization. It effectively deals with the business of the ANC overall and reports to the National Executive Committee. So decisions of the National Working Committee are to be considered by the NEC. And once affirmed, they are implemented. This includes guidelines. The NEC can't amend the Constitution. That falls within the province of the National Congress of the ANC. The other critical structure is the National General Council. Owing to COVID conditions, we did not convene the National General Council of the ANC coming into this national conference. What we did was that through the policy subcommittee of the ANC, led by Comrade Jeff Radebe, and the political subcommittee of the ANC, led by Comrade Natim Tetwa, we distributed NGC documents. The essence of these NGC documents was that they were then to guide what will come out of what will become of policy documents going into the National Policy Conference. So the other structure of the ANC is the National Policy Conference. All these structures of the ANC have got defined powers. The NGC has got defined powers. The National Policy Conference has got defined powers specifically to consider and recommend policy discussions to the National Conference. As we see to the National Conference, we have already gone through the Policy Conference. Why is this critical to this conference? It is critical to this conference because you are not going to have exhaustive discussions of all those policy documents because you have now done your recommendations. If those recommendations are consistent and similar with what you took out of the policy conference, it means all you are going to do is affirmation. This is important because it now deals with the time. It now tells you that it means that there is no expectation on our part that larger amount of time will be spent in commissions dealing with this policy discussion documents, because they are now refined, presented in a way and form that they must constitute decisions. So yes, we will be able to conclude the business of conference. The reason why this conference is called a national elective conference is because part of the critical things that it must do is that it must elect the leadership of the ANC. But already you had a policy forum in the form of the policy conference that dealt with all your policies. Those of you who were here in July sat with us here. I mean, at one stage we had a 6-hour press briefing just dealing with policy discussion documents. So critical to this conference is the election of the leadership that must be able to lead the organization for the next 5 years. So we are doing everything possible within our power, working around the clock to make sure that the conference is proceeding as planned. So there is nothing that suggests that conference will not proceed as planned. Actually, it's all hands on deck. We had, when we spoke yesterday, we also again spoke about the notion of media open sessions, what I previously referred to as open days. Some of you in the media have come forward to say that the limitations imposed by yourselves not being able to interact with delegates makes you run dry, especially your print and digital media platforms, and that you may want space opened or considered for you to go and interact with delegates, even to pick up questions and all of that. It's not a bad suggestion. It's not a bad suggestion. Unfortunately, the program has already been adopted, and the national spokesperson of the ANC has got no power, none whatsoever, to change the program of conference. Everything that we call open with yourselves must also be open here on the program. Yesterday, when you went in, spent 3 hours on the ground, that was part of the open session that we had committed to making available to yourselves. So those open sessions are there, but they are as inserted in the program. We will meet with the media relations team after this briefing to put forward a motivation to the conference steering committee to consider allowing yourselves that space to at least be taken out of the media village and interact, or bring delegates this side, interact with delegates within a defined space. We'll put forward that proposal. It's not a decision we can just take by ourselves without having to test it with the relevant bodies that are empowered to run with the life of a conference. So we are hoping that today we'll deal with all reports, and we'll also deal with the nomination of officials and possibly the voting of officials later on. Our delegates just have to understand that we may have to work for much longer than we had anticipated, so that we can still meet the timelines we have set out to do this conference. Otherwise, it's not just all systems go. The systems are in motion. Everything is running as planned. If members of the media have got clarity-seeking questions that they may want us to deal with, so really this briefing was just about giving you status update of where we are, so that you are able to diarize, plan, and all of that. We have made those in the leadership structures of the ANC available to talk to yourselves. They've been coming in to come and clarify. And we must thank these provincial chairpersons to have dealt with the question of conduct. I mean, I was listening to the chairperson of KwaZulu-Natal, Comrade Siboni Soduma, conveying a very responsible message on the conduct of delegates overall. We have called on all our chairs, our regional secretaries, to go out there to their delegates and consolidate one single message, that the collapse of this conference will be an indictment on the leadership overall, not just on the National Executive Committee, on all of the 9 provinces and the 52 regions, on all of the near 4,500 delegates that are in this conference. We've got a moral and political duty to make sure that this conference succeeds. The message conveyed by our president in his political report on the unity of the African National Congress, on the renewal of our organization, is one that we must all uphold, advance, and sustain. It's very important.